Welcome to Adoption Matters, where our adoptee-centered, trispective approach honors every voice in the adoption constellation and helps families grow stronger together. Today, we're doing something a little different. We're looking back at 2025, which was a transformative year for growing intentional families together. When we started talking about what our next project would be, we kept coming back to one word: legacy. We asked ourselves, what would be a worthy venture? What do we really want to contribute to the adoption community? And it became clear we wanted to contribute significantly to the understanding and connection of the entire adoption triad, because all voices and all perspectives need to be heard and honored. They matter and they have power to change things. That led us to create something that we're really proud of. As you know, growing intentional families together is all about offering skilled support to anyone in the adoption constellation. Since we don't facilitate adoptions, we have a unique opportunity to be present with people, free of pressure or any agenda. In fact, our coaching approach is committed to living out what we call a trispective approach. Before we dive into what we created this year, let me introduce you to the team joining me today. I'll start with myself. My name is Kim Noeth, and I'm one of the coaches here at Growing Intentional Families Together. I'm a birth mom, and I founded an organization for first and birth moms called Birth Moms Today. I connected with Gift a little over 2 years ago, and we have been doing something awesome together in the community since. I'll go with Sally. Would you introduce yourself next?
Yeah, hi, I'm Sally, and I'm an adoptive parent. I've been a part of Growing Intentional Families Together since its inception in 2020, I believe it was. Yeah, and I'm excited to be here today to talk about what we've been up to.
Susan, would you like to go next?
Sure, why not? I'm Susan David, and I'm also an adoption coach at Growing Intentional Families Together and one of the original co-founders way back in 2011. Let's see, I am an adoptive parent, and one of the things that led me to this work was that, I figured out that love is not enough. And so um, I- through coaching and certain coaching techniques and an understanding of the what we call the trispective approach, birth mother, adoptee, and adoptive parent, um, I'm I've transformed my relationship with my three children. So it's important to me to be coaching adoptive parents, but also to help other adoption professionals see the importance of understanding that trispective approach. We'll talk more about that later.
Thanks, Susan. How about you, Joe?
Oh, so I'm Joe, and I think it's been like 2 years getting in what going intentional farming is all about. I would say I want to call myself an intern. I don't know if it's okay. Yeah, because I haven't really gotten so much into doing the adoption coaching, but then I've been part of the organization for like 2 years. Is that right? Yeah,
That's
if I could
awesome.
say yeah, so I'll just say I'm an intern, yeah.
Okay. How about you, Sharon?
Oh, hi. My name is Sharon Butler Obazee, and I have the privilege of being the adoptee on the team. I am basically a domestic adoption, and which was interesting process in the whole field of everything when you consider the whole picture. It's been interesting to me. I joined this organization in 2020, and one of the co-founders here. And it's been a journey for me because as I go through the process of getting clarity from the adoptive parents on the team and understanding more about what I lacked as an adoptee growing up, it's helped secure my identity and heritage and helped me to understand who I am as a person and that I am enough.
Mm-hmm. And that you are. How about you, Gail?
Well, my favorite part, public speaking. I'm
Yeah.
also a coach. I'm one of the original co-founders of Growing Intentional Families Together before we reorganized 5 years ago. I'm also an adoptive parent, and I'm very proud to be part of this exceptional team and our really strong commitment to the trispective approach. I think it makes a difference for everyone.
Gail, you mentioned our trispective approach. Can you describe a little what that means for our listeners who might be new to this concept?
I can, and I'm going to cheat because I'm going to read it
All right.
so I get it accurately. I want to say it precisely. It's a perspective of adoption that considers the experiences and points of view of all of the parties, adoptee, birth parents, and adoptive parents, not only as an individual experience, but as a shared collective experience that affects and connects the entire triad. It's a way of looking at adoption from all three points of view in a way that values, recognizes, and respects the emotional, physical, and psychological ties that link us together. And we understand that each of us has unique experiences, struggles, and emotional fallout caused by adoption. And we stand stronger when we stand together.
That's so true. And that approach has been so powerful in our own coaching that we realize that other coaches and mental health professionals could deepen their practice by learning how to honor and welcome into the conversation each member of the triad. So, what we developed was a course to teach this trispective approach that helps more coaches and mental health professionals become what we call adoption attuned. Susan, we hear a lot about being adoption competent, but can you describe to us what adoption attuned means and how it's different?
Oh, great. I'll do that. We talk a lot about it. You're absolutely right. Adoption attunement, I like to think of it as a concept, right? That understands that adoptees or adoptive families are different than bio families, right? Now that seems pretty easy. But the thing is, how do you do that and how do you think about it? And adoption attunement means that you are intentional in your raising of your child and that you take into account, um, and sometimes not, but you mostly take into account the idea that adoption has some sort of effect on your child and your family. So it's just it's an intentional process. It has, don't be overwhelmed, 18 elements, but the elements are basically common sense. You know, and then one that I really love is bring fun into your family, right? That seems very self-evident, but when you're busy raising a family, you might not think about that. And it takes into account what is the adoptive experience? What is that for the child? And how does that translate into your parenting? So let's see. I hope Gail is a huge proponent of adoption attunement. And we talk about adoption attunement parenting. As we look to training coaches, we now are thinking about adoption attunement coaching. And again, it's going to be intentional. It's going to look at how did adoption affect what's going on here. So maybe the behavior that you're looking at is not adoption related, but I would say it's probably adoption related. And so it gives our coaches that take our course some training in how to do that.
So true. And Joe, you were part of creating this new course. Can you tell us why you signed on to be part of this curriculum development and share a little bit about how you're connected to adoption?
You're on mute.
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to share that. So, just a little bit about my background. I'm a medical sonographer by profession, and also have my master's in psychology, which I recently finished with my postgraduate. And I've always had this passion for mental health advocacy and everything. So somewhere, I think 2 years ago, I was lucky enough to have the ICF sponsor me for a coaching certification program, which I did like a year with Ericsson Coaching International. And alongside, I've always known that I also have this passion for adoption and fostering. In terms of my own personal life, I have a sister who is an adopted sister that we grew up with. So I sort of kind of like have this passion, let me say, and also talking about how the adoption system is in Ghana, it's been something that I've also been passionate about. I remember some years back, I had this kind of adoption series where we tend to look into the adoption system in Ghana with one of my friends who is also a social worker. So after my program, I was just sort of like looking online, trying to find any organization that were into adoption coaching because I wanted to do something different with what I have learned in my coaching journey in terms of with Erickson coaching. And when I searched online, like I just saw get growing intentional families, and I remember sending a message to Sally right there, and I was so surprised that I got a feedback like the next day. And I mean, that is like history. We get talking and everything. And I think during the course of our conversation, that was when the whole organization was also coming with this um, coaching course. And I think that was how I got into it. And it was such an amazing journey, I should put it, because straight out of coaching school and finding an organization that has what I was looking for and seeing how the things that I've learned, the principles of coaching integrated perfectly into what Gift has already built in terms of the adoption attunement, the coaching principles when it comes to adoption and all that. So basically, that is how I got into the family, yeah, if I should put it, and how I got into the course as well, and the creation of the course. Yeah.
We are so glad that you are part of the journey. We really
Yeah.
benefit and appreciate your passion and love having you work with us here. For me, too, it's been an honor to represent a perspective that I feel is so often the least understood or one of them alongside the adoptee. And it's also one of the most judged in the adoption conversation. Birth mothers, they need someone to be a voice for them to help others understand the complexity, the love, the grief, and the lifelong impact of their decision. And here's what I've come to understand through the development of this curriculum, that when coaches and mental health professionals truly understand the birth mother's perspective, it doesn't just help birth mothers feel seen and supported. It helps adoptees to better understand their own stories, and it helps adoptive parents to approach their relationships with deeper compassion and insight. And that's the power of being adoption attuned. When we make space for all three voices, really hearing them, honoring them, everyone in the constellation benefits. And that's what we're hoping to pass on to professionals who take this course. Sally or Sharon, can you explain a little bit about or expound a little on the course and tell us how it's been going so far?
Good, Sharon.
Okay. The course is named Adoption Attuned Certified Coaching. It initially was designed to support individuals who had ICF certification and understood the components and the competencies of ICF, and so that we could build on those competencies with adoption attunement principles. And so we have individuals who are taking the course, typically who have ICF certification and understand all of the 8 competencies that go alongside. During the course, they go through 7 different modules, and each module focuses on a different aspect of adoption. So we have the first 3 modules that go into pre, during, and post adoption, and our adoptive parents were the authors of that particular section. Gail and Susan did a great job, I should say, with describing exactly what are some of the elements and some of the fears and some of the concerns that we come to the table with when we adopt a child. And then there's my section where I talk about the adopted person's interaction with themselves, the questions they have and carry throughout the process of adoption, and what adoption attunement really looks like. When you're adoptee, you don't know what you should be expecting. And so this helps to clarify some of the questions that adoptive parents might have, birth mothers might have, and the adoptee themselves. And then finally, we had, oh no, then we had the birth mother, not finally, there's two more, section where Kim does an excellent job of unwrapping what a birth mother's concerns, questions, and requirements are for herself personally or himself personally, so that they can fit into the adoption process and realize, what an attuned adoption looks like, and maybe some of the concerns a birth mother has, and why they're not uh, allowed into the intersection of adoption sometimes because of fears that the adopted parents carry forward. The last two sections are authored by Sally, and in that section we talk about the competencies. We talk about a section where we actually do a one-on-one coaching session, and it's not just a coaching session. There's a breakdown after. I was one of the persons who had the opportunity to be coached, and so is Joe. And so we go through the process of talking about, what a coaching session might look like, where some of the things or elements of the session that we felt comfortable with, and what parts we might have not felt comfortable with. And we kind of break that down so people can understand what coaching actually is. I hope that describes it well enough, Tim.
It sure does. And I'm curious to hear, Sally, what are some of our participants saying about this course as they go through it?
Well, I've been blown away by the replies and the experiences that people are having with the course. And one common thing that Sharon and I have heard was how this has helped them personally in their personal life, and even some comments around, I didn't know I was the only one. I thought I was the only one feeling this way. Right now, the some of the people we have are from the adoption constellation, and they felt alone in their experience. They also have had shifts in thinking about different possibilities for the other people in the constellation. For instance, one person had said, I had only had one idea of my birth mom in my mind, and am hearing Kim's, that lesson made me wonder if there might have been other possibilities going on for my birth mom. And it shifted it's shifted who they are and how they move about in the world. One person even said that her friends said, we see a change in you. And so there's been personal transformation. And then there's also the skill transformation where we, like Sharon said, we dig in deep about how our coaches or mental health professionals really being present with the people they might see come through their door, and how can we invite other perspectives into the room. I know that Joe and I, when we really started the groundwork on this was something that we talked quite a bit about, Joe, wasn't it? Like, what are some of the things we can do, techniques we can have available to people? And so that has been really helpful too. And one thing that I think is a mark of a good course is when people say we want more. So we had some of our first people saying we need more, and so that's what we're doing. We're adding more. We've submitted more hours to the ICF Coaching Federation to do a little more one-on-one work. Right now we have optional online times with the clients, with the students, and I'll tell you what, they're showing up. And they're developing relationships with each other too. So we're going to add more. I just cannot be more pleased with how it's rolling out. And Kim, we have a new adoption coaching directory that with the students who have graduated, that people can access. So
That's
we're excited.
amazing. That's amazing. And we can certainly link to that. And Sally, that brings me to tell us, what does 2026 hold for growing intentional families together?
Yeah, well, once again, we're adding to our course. We're going deeper also with these podcasts. I'm really excited about that because Susan and Gail have done a lot of work on finding the nuggets in the podcasts we've done before with different people. And Sharon and Kim and I, we weren't a part of that selection process. And so we're going to on each podcast, we're going to take the nuggets that have been given to us and we're going to listen to it. And then the three of us are going to give replies based on where we are in the adoption constellation. And so we're going to say, okay, these wise words, why would Gail and Susan pick those, and how do we hear that? How do I hear it as a adoptive parent, you as an adoptive person, and you as a birth mom? That's going to be the next year's podcast, and that will help build up for people. It doesn't matter. You can be an adoptive parent, adoptive person, or birth mom and hear it and get something out of it. But if you're training to be adoption attuned and going through our course, or if you're a mental health professional and just want to kind of dig deeper, it's going to be an excellent resource for you. So that's what we're doing this next year. We're really going to dig deep on the trispective approach.
I have to jump in and say, as Gail and I were choosing those clips from a variety of different adoption professionals, it was exciting to hear their points of view, and I'm looking forward to hearing you guys talk about it. But we had author Linda R. Sexton, who wrote a book, Cherish, I can't remember the name of it exactly, but Cherish Our Branches or something. We had Simon Ben, who hails from the UK, and he's a big influencer. Brian DeVos is a psychologist and works in the United States, and he's also an adoptive father of two women that happen to be from foster care. April Dinwoody, you might recognize her voice. So and some others that I haven't mentioned, Marcy Keithley, Gail, help me out.
And
Sharon McNamara with, oh, Gail, you're muted.
Joyce McGuire Pavao.
Oh my God. What a great interview. You guys did a good job too, I must say.
And many of those people were our adoptees themselves.
Yes. Yes. So we did have the trispective viewpoint represented. Yeah.
So are you, just curiosity before we go, did you do one, I think, from the men who we interviewed?
Okay, that would have been a birth father special. And we kind of stayed with professionals because kind of focusing on the course, but certainly the men would be fun to and also informative to have little clips of them too. So, maybe we'll do that for you. And also we had honoring Mother's Day.
Oh, that's
We
right.
had the interviews with the different adoptees who happen to be moms, that whole thing. Oh, yeah, that was a good, yes, we'll go back and pick some of those out too.
Eventually, but we can only do 12 this year. But I'm excited about that, really excited. And we're kicking that off in February because you're all hearing this in January. So Happy New Year, everybody, too, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes, Happy New Year. We hope that you will join us as we pull some nuggets from previous podcasts and we open up the conversation to present the trispective view. Thank you for joining us today. Visit our website to learn more about how we can walk alongside you as you grow and heal together. Great day, everyone.